Welcome to another edition of Wrestling Goons Radio, the podcast for the IWC, from the IWC, and this is our WWE Summerslam wrap-up show. Tonight was the night of no finishes. We did have some few title changes and plenty of controversy. We want to thank all of our listeners on Max Sports Channels and Power Station FM. If you're listening to us on Blogger at WrestlingGoonsRadio.blogspot.com. There you will be able to get our show and find all of our social media links where you can subscribe to our show. But we're going to get in today. I have a new guy with me, Brian Compton. Brian, say hello to everybody. How are you?
Hello, IWC. How are you doing today? Thank you for having me on today, Anthony. Appreciate that.
Good to have you, my friend. Good to have you. Mark Pitts, as always. Mark, how's it going?
It's going good. Great weekend of terrific wrestling action.
Fantastic. Oh, man, I'm a little upset, and a lot of things that happened tonight. We're gonna get into that though as the show goes along. It started tonight with Jon Stewart being the host of SummerSlam. He come out there and he said that he was not going to be doing interviews by himself. He had a backup plan that he had to talk to Brock Lesnar, and he had to go to Suplex City. There was only one man that he could bring, and it was the hardcore legend Mick Foley. Now Mick Foley comes out there and he says that he thinks that maybe Jon Stewart got a little confused because he thought he said The Rock. And he thought that they left the B off there, and he just needed to let Jon Stewart know that he was not going to have his back. And that was how they started the show. Pretty good way to get Jon Stewart there. Good cheap pop for Mick Foley. It was the cheap pop segment. I'll go with Brian first. Brian, what was your thoughts on seeing Jon Stewart with the hardcore legend to start off SummerSlam?
Yeah, definitely. It was nice to see Mick Foley. Haven't seen him in the ring for a while. They today has some nice chemistry. Definitely made for a nice start to the show. Bit of a comedic relief for what was about to happen.
Mark, you saw this a little bit later on. What did you think about seeing the hardcore legend in New York of all places?
I thought it was pretty good. I like how they threw The Rock's name out there with Brock. So they're still kind of, I think Vince McMahon really wants to do a Brock vs. Rock WrestleMania match.
Oh, I know there's still a possibility, and they've thrown that out there. Like I said, after tonight, the window is open for a lot of possibilities. So we're just gonna have to see where they go with that. But overall, good way to get the show going, like Brian said, and get the crowd laughing a little bit. Yeah, 'cause laughter stopped really quick when we had Sheamus and Randy Orton. I'm gonna be honest, guys. I didn't have high expectations coming into this match, and it over-delivered for me. It started off with Sheamus doing what he needs to do to get. He cut a promo in the crowd with them telling him that he looked stupid, and he was able to play the bad guy the whole match, even to the point where he wouldn't let the crowd do the 10 count with him with the sledge. I really liked it a lot, and it ended with Sheamus hitting a brogue kick on Randy Orton into the turnbuckle and hit a running one off the ropes. It was violent. I'll go with Mark first. Mark, what was your thoughts on Sheamus and Randy? Did it deliver for you?
Yeah. I thought it delivered pretty well, especially for the chemistry that they normally have. I know you said something about the fans were kind of chanting random things during the match, but then they picked up and went to their bread and butter. Like I said on the pre-show, they went brutality, and that's what these two need to deliver in the ring when they're against each other on a nightly basis, because without that, I don't think that the crowd can be fully invested in them to just having a technical wrestling match. And the bro kick in the corner, followed by the running bro kick off the ring ropes, that was brutal. And that is when heel Sheamus is the best.
Brian, were you entertained, according to Sheamus?
As much as I want to say I wasn't, I actually was very entertained. I've noticed a trend with the RKOs that they're trying to come up with more innovative ways to make those happen. So I was pleased to see the Sheamus jump over the rope into the RKO. I thought that was pretty clever to do. Also, like you had mentioned prior to this, interacting with the crowd. Randy Orton's known for hearing voices in his head. The only person hearing voices tonight was Sheamus from the crowd saying he looks stupid. And Randy Orton learned, just like the crowd did, that you don't have to like the way he looks, but you have to respect the Hawk.
Love the respect the Hawk line. That was a great addition. Sheamus, like I said, he adds new stuff all the time. Love it. I tell you what, I really want to give credit to right here is Randy Orton, for the simple fact that normally when the crowd starts chanting random things during a match, especially when it's Randy Orton and Sheamus, they have a history of kind of losing their cool, and Randy doesn't like when the crowd does that. But Randy, he didn't let it get to him tonight, so kudos to Randy for that. Before we go on, any last things you want to add? I'll go to you first, Brian. Anything?
Just that I feel like putting them at the beginning of the card was a smart move, because people were expecting it to be more of a drawn out, kind of slow paced match and not really live up to his expectations. And I think that people were surprised. So it kind of set the tone for the rest of the pay per view that maybe they shouldn't expect. They should expect the unexpected, sort of.
Yeah, totally agree. I think this is the right spot on the card to have this match too. Mark, any last thoughts?
Sheamus was not expecting RKOs out of nowhere, and that is why he jumped over to give him the battering ram. He just apparently does not watch the WWE Network for $9.99.
Shame on you, Sheamus. Do your homework and know that if you're ever flying your body in any sort of direction toward Randy Orton, it will likely end in an RKO out of nowhere. Then next we have the Fatal 4-Way Tag Team Match, New Day facing the primetime players who are the champions coming in, Lucha Dragons and Los Matadores. New Day comes out first, and they cut a promo on Brooklyn and New York. They decide that they're going to target hip hop, but the problem is that the crowd didn't really respond. They didn't defend hip hop the way they should have. They then made fun of the Empire State of Mind by singing their own version of Welcome to New Day, which, by the way, folks, you have to go back and see this. It is hilarious. Every bit of the segment is great. We go into the match, and they really confuse the crap out of me with this finish, or the beginning, where Michael Cole just plays it off that it's okay for teammates to pin each other in this match, apparently, as the New Day goes for a pinfall on each other, and Cole just says that that's okay. They're being smart, and I guess Mark said they were being smart too. Mark, I'm going to let you defend this spot because you liked it. Go ahead and tell me why it is okay for wrestling to ignore rules.
Sir, when has wrestling went out and said that in a triple threat or quadruple tag team match that you can't technically tag yourself in on someone else while your partner remains in there? I mean, you can tag anyone, quote unquote, anyone. Therefore, I thought it was hilarious that New Day tried to steal the win early. It was great. It was funny. It was typical New Day, or should I say vintage New Day?
That would be the equivalent of my left tackle in football turning around and grabbing Tom Brady on the goal line and taking him down for a safety. Why? Why? Brian, are you okay with this happening, or do you think it was part of the match being funny?
I thought it was funny. I'll agree with Mark on that. I thought it was hilarious as well because that's what they do. But the issue I had with it was Cole actually validating it as it was okay. To me, it would be different if they actually won. But yeah, no, I'd have to disagree on that part where Cole shouldn't have validated and the referee shouldn't have started the count.
I completely agree on that. I'm glad that it didn't end that way, and I'm glad that the match did continue. It actually did. They ended up playing the tag thing in and out as being part of the finish. New Day got the win cleanly. I will say that. Kofi was the legal man, and he hits that boot on Titus, who didn't know that he was a legal man. By the way, Big E Langston obviously has a problem with Darren Young, because poor Darren. He took a splash on the apron, and he took a spear on the barrier. I'm wondering if he's okay. Guys, were you entertained by the match? I'll start with you, Mark.
Okay, just to go back to the point about the left tackle and Tom Brady, do not tell the University of Florida that, because they often do block each other in assignments. But
Boom, boom, boom.
but going to the match itself, I was thoroughly entertained. I believe just about every tag team actually got a pretty good spot and kind of showcased themselves. Titus O'Neil definitely can go as a single and be very, very over. He wrecked house whenever he came in, and it was just great. He can get over with the fans pretty easily, and I'm not even the biggest primetime player supporter, but he was pretty over. New Day getting the finish, I loved it. Kofi Kingston's celebration was hilarious, and might I add, Xavier Woods needs to be mic'd up out there on the outside because, quote, WWE doesn't sell hamburgers because the only thing that gets delivered in the WWE is tricep meat. And he is hilarious.
I have been saying it for a long time, and I want to go ahead right now, but we're passing to Brian. And I want to target you, IWC, the people we talk to. Because you are the people that are now chanting New Day rocks. We started that. Me and Mark were the first ones that were POP, holding it down. We saw the potential in New Day, and now you people want to get on board like you're New Day fans. Well, that's fine. I'm glad you're seeing the power of positivity now. But where were you at all this other time? Brian, were you entertained by the tag match itself? And how did you think the finish went overall?
I was very entertained, and to go back to what you were saying, perhaps they just didn't believe at first. Now they do because that was then, and now's a new day. So I will have to go back to what you said about the New Day winning cleanly because Xavier Woods did interfere in the match. Although it wasn't the direct cause of them winning, he did interfere. I could have actually done without Los Matadors being in there because I feel like they were too botchy to even be considered as part of the match. They almost messed up the ending of the match, and the timing was off, and it was an awkward timing. But you could tell that they messed it up.
Yeah, I wanna add that too, real quick about that. I noticed what you're saying, and when I will give them credit though, because when the other one fell, the other one hopped back on the rope in his position. So, like you said, they actually saved that spot. I am glad they're in the match though, for the simple fact that you brought up Xavier Woods. I think they're still gonna have to scrape El Torito up off the ground with how hard Xavier threw him down. And then he acted like he had just slammed Brock Lesnar when he got up. I was in tears. Like, I don't know why El Torito puts his body through that kind of mess, but that segment entertained me alone. So for that alone, I was glad they were in the match. If I could say anybody that just kind of felt lost, it was Lucha Dragons. I mean, Kalisto got his step in early, but Sin Cara he just might as well not have been in the match. Did y'all notice, Brian? I'll let you go ahead and add your final thoughts.
I'm going to have to actually disagree because I feel like they were one of the standout teams in the match. You mentioned that Titus O'Neil could stand alone, or Mark did. That Titus O'Neil could stand alone. Big E, Kofi, they can all stand alone. But as far as the Lucha Dragons, I feel like they actually stood out in the match in terms of a tag team because a lot of their moves that they completed in the match, it involved and required both of them at the same time, and they did that seamlessly. But as far as the energy in the match from the moment that the Primetime Players and New Day came out, that's how I felt when I was growing up watching like old tag team matches. So to me, I think they did a phenomenal job on that.
Absolutely. And Mark, I'll let you go ahead and wrap it up. Final thoughts on this tag segment.
Don't feel sour. Clap for your 2-time tag team champs and feel the power. That's it.
That's all that really needs to be said, right? And now we're going to move on to Jon Stewart in the back. He's hanging out with the Green and the Red Arrow, and he's talking about his friend, The Undertaker. Always giving him advice on what kind of weird caskets and sending him creepy stuff, and that's about time the lights went out, and apparently when The Undertaker walks, smoke follows him. Undertaker crossing across the camera, that was really cool. I'm sorry, guys. I know I crap on The Undertaker being here and being old and blah, blah, blah. I really enjoy these vintage Undertaker segments when he acts like the old Undertaker. Brian, were you entertained by this small segment here with The Undertaker?
I'll be honest, no, I wasn't. It really doesn't do much for me because I've already seen the match and I've seen the one at WrestleMania. So to me, it's almost disappointing to see it because you're hyping something that you know it's not going to live up to what they're promising.
That's very interesting. All right. We got some little controversy later in the show. Mark, were you entertained by this little segment here?
Yes. Okay, so Jon Stewart is hilarious. I don't know if many people caught this, but he was trying to get Stephen Amell's autograph for himself. I know he had the little kid there. He's like, no, don't make it out to Nate. Just write your name. That was hilarious.
Yeah, that was great. I didn't catch that. But yeah, pretty much Undertaker. I guess they really don't see a point in him in there. It was just something to get him in the show extra, just something for the fans. After that, we led in the Intercontinental title match that we were supposed to have at the last pay-per-view, but Ryback is back to have it now. They gave them 5 minutes, and Ryback got the win. It's not really much to add here. This is the match that just kind of felt like it didn't belong on the card to me. Mark, were you impressed by this, or you think it was probably one of the worst matches on the card?
Yeah, I wasn't really impressed. I mean, they got a few quick spots, but nothing like. Maybe they'll give him more time on the next pay-per-view to make up for it. Hopefully, it's just a one-on-one match with someone. I really don't want to see these three in the ring again. Actually.
That's actually what I was going to ask you, Brian, is, do you think this is more on Ryback or just the fact that we've seen this story for so long that it's hard to get invested in it?
I think putting Ryback against The Miz and Big Show takes away from Ryback and his abilities because because he's actually a really talented guy and he works really hard. I don't think the story of Ryback itself is weak or outdated. It's who they're putting him up against. And I'll go ahead and say this now so that I can have it out there that my theory is that Daniel Bryan will come back as a heel against Ryback. So Ryback will retain his belt until then, and Daniel Bryan will come back and declare that Ryback should have relinquished his belt while he was injured because that's what Daniel Bryan had to do. So if Daniel Bryan had to do it, why did Ryback? And we'll see a heel Daniel Bryan when he returns.
I would like that, for that who didn't catch that, he said that Daniel Bryan should turn heel upon his return and go after Ryback. I would like that. I just wonder when they would pull the trigger. I know WWE has been very hesitant about letting Daniel Bryan back into action. I would hope so. That would be a great angle to do with him. Mark, do you feel like Ryback just kind of got his back in a corner?
Actually, I'm gonna go off of what he says. I think that would actually be the smart thing to do. And I think that Daniel Bryan, along with WWE, is working the IWC about this whole WWE officials won't let me back. I think the whole thing's a work, to be honest with you, especially the more Triple H is involved with WWE, the more he is going to work the IWC and use them against themselves. So I think that could be a real possibility, maybe around like Royal Rumble or somewhere. But as far as Ryback, yeah, I think he just needs a new feud with someone else. I think putting him with Big Show and The Miz, maybe Miz versus Ryback one-on-one could be a better feud. And I wouldn't mind seeing them work a feud because I think that the Miz could put him over even more as a face. But I mean, I don't hate on the big guy. I mean, I like him. He's improved drastically since Skip Sheffield days. Just needs new feud.
I mean, that's like saying that the Cubs have improved drastically this year over every other year. I mean, how far can you go from Skip Sheffield to Ryback? Of course he's improved. Skip Sheffield was awful. I agree though. I mean, Ryback has improved, and I think he's gotta stop throwing the same crap at us. Like, let the guy be the guy. Like, they restrained Ryback so much. Like, he's so hilarious on Twitter, and they don't let that character come out on camera. And they do the same thing with Roman Reigns, who we're about to get into in a minute. Matter of fact, we'll just go ahead and jump into that now, because I have a big complaint with this match. It went 11 minutes, first off. I don't even know why it needed that long. Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose, Bray Wyatt, Luke Harper in a tag match. They did a great job at the beginning of getting the crowd hyped with the stare down. It kind of felt like the Shield and Wyatt thing the first time, just 2-on-2. Mark was saying that they got Bray stuff in with Luke early in the match or what have you. I saw Roman Reigns hit about 4 or 5 Superman punches, and I saw the very ending of the match make Bray Wyatt a useless jobber. He did nothing of the sort to do any kind of comeback. He became Barry Horowitz. He's a jobber. Why do they keep doing this to Bray Wyatt? Why? I cannot take him seriously as a dominant heel if he's the guy that gets run over at the end of every storyline. Mark, I know you're going to defend this because you feel like that this is leading to a bigger story. Do you feel like this match played out the way it should have tonight?
Well, I mean, we had the interference, and that's what we thought that was going to happen whenever we gave our predictions on the pre-show. I kind of agree with you that they're going to need to do something with Bray to put him back, but I'm okay. He allowed Luke to take his suffering, so I mean, I guess turnabout's fair play, and he can take his lumps too. But the crowd was not behind Roman Reigns at all. And I'm kind of getting to the point with the Roman Reigns and the crowd not being behind him. I think Vince is like, I see another John Cena. The crowd hates him. I'm just gonna push him. Forget what they want. I don't even care. They'll love to hate him. Like, I'm kind of getting that aspect of it. Because, I mean, even if he gets booed, he still looks super strong. Vince is like, we have to make him look strong. The crowd doesn't like him. I'm just gonna give it to the crowd. Middle fingers up. Whatever.
Brian, do you agree with that assessment on the direction they may be going?
Um, I honestly don't know what direction they're trying to go with him. Um, they're clearly not trying to develop his character, otherwise they would abolish this horrible attire that he has to walk to the ring in. And if I have to see him walk through the crowd one more time, I'm probably going to boycott the guy. I think that's unoriginal, and that we have seen it way too much. And I honestly think that he's doing Ambrose badly by being his partner. I really thought that I was going to see a heel turn, just based on the fact that you didn't see Roman Reigns in the match towards the end for quite a while until the smarky crowd decided to chant Roman sleeping, which in my opinion was classless. And just because it's part of the match, it's not, he's not doing it on his own. It's part of the match. You could just sit there and watch the match and watch it play out. But it almost felt like Roman Reigns was throwing Ambrose to the wolves. Like, he's holding him back, so here you go. And when Ambrose was celebrating on the ropes and Roman Reigns was getting ready to spear Bray Wyatt, I just felt that I was going to see a Superman punch to Ambrose, but it didn't happen. So in that aspect, I was disappointed that they didn't go in that direction. At least give them some kind of character development.
No, I actually completely agree with you on that. I was hoping that they would take it some kind of direction and give us something that would build. And I agree with the fact of what you said about Ambrose. I feel like that his character right now is only supporting Roman Reigns, and it isn't developing Dean Ambrose at all. It's almost like they can just play the role of him being a lunatic and expect that to be all they have to go on. Dean Ambrose can be so much more than that. And to the fact of Roman Reigns, when you said coming through the crowd, you do that with somebody that is extremely over, okay? This man got hit with a Money in the Bank briefcase from a fan. If you have something like that happen, why are you still having that person come through the crowd? First off, to the fact of what Mark said, and this is the problem with what Vince is doing. Crowds like Philly and Brooklyn, they hate Roman Reigns. They hate him because he was given something that he didn't, quote unquote, rightfully earn. And this goes back to my pet peeve of what Brian mentioned. People of the IWC. I get frustrated with matches too, as you see me going off now about Bray Wyatt. But during the match, while it's going on, cheer when you're supposed to cheer, boo when you're supposed to boo, but stop chanting random crap. Stop degrading the wrestlers that are out there doing what they're supposed to do, following their script, because guess what? That's been every Roman Reigns tag match ever. He always gets the hot tag at the end, cleans house, does the punch, does the spear, roll credits. I don't know what you expect from the guy. That's what he does, and it works. So that's my 2 cents on it. I agree with what Brian said. I agree with what Mark said, and I think that we can take all that, combine it together, and we can fix Bray Wyatt, and we can fix Roman Reigns, and we can fix Dean Ambrose. Don't even get me started on Luke Harper, because Luke Harper is just there, and he's there to take the brunt beat for us, because he's not getting anything in but those great kicks and that clothesline, and other than that, he's taking beans. So, final thoughts, I'll go with Mark.
Okay, so I I mean, I agree with you to an extent about the crowd and the random chanting and stuff, but this is the WWE universe, and like Triple H says, and like John Cena says, they have a voice, and whether they love you or they hate you, they let you know. So I kind of agree with the crowd chanting. I don't necessarily say random things. I mean, I'd rather hear a "this sucks" chant than random things, but if it at all can make someone's gears turn and maybe improve their game or maybe take creative and make them go in a different direction to actually improve them, because I've seen so many times that if the crowd just doesn't chant anything during a match that they don't like, creative's like, well, they didn't boo it, so I mean, we're doing something great. We'll just keep running this the entire time. And creative will get lax and they won't try to improve things. They'll just think that they're there.
Fair enough, fair enough. Brian, final thoughts on this tag match before we move on?
Yeah, just to touch on a little bit of what Mark just said, I agree with him in regards to certain chants being acceptable because there's certain ones that are appropriate in certain times, but to have a wrestler knocked out of the ring and of course he's pretending like he's knocked out. Everybody knows this. It's like everybody knows magic isn't real. To sit there and exploit it and to yell out stuff like, Roman sleeping, it to me is disrespectful and a slap in the face of what they do because of course he's not knocked out and he's not sleeping, but that's like going to the movies and saying that guy really didn't get shot. Of course he really didn't.
But to the same point, well, let me ask you this, Brian. Do you feel the same way about the Big Show when they chant, please retire to the Big Show? Because I feel like that's extremely disrespectful to the man. Do you feel like that he's been done wrong by the WWE Universe as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people are just chanting stuff just to get their balls off. I mean, all they want to do is, make themselves feel better. I mean, yeah, they bought tickets so they can say whatever they want to, but these same people that are saying please retire are going to be the same people that when he does retire are going to be saying thank you, Big Show. And it's just hypocritical.
That's a very, very good point. Excellent, excellent. Next, we have at the midway point, at the exact halfway point of this show, we have John Cena and Seth Rollins. I do not know why they put this match on in the middle of the card, because it was phenomenal. This might be John Cena's best match that he's had in his recent year-long ranked matches. They really went at it. My one complaint here, and I know this is fickle, and I just complained about just watching the match, blah, 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 but dear John Cena, I can see you calling the spot word for word, and old school wrestling tactics teach you to hide that. Like, I shouldn't be able to see you call the spot, for 5 minutes straight. Did anybody, Mark, I know you called it. How did you feel about John and clearly, not caring about setting up the moves?
I've kind of gotten used to that by John. I don't know whether it's the certain like camera angles that catch John Cena very easily, but I mean, for the most part, on most matches, I can at least hear like some of the spots that he calls out. I don't know if it's just his voice is really loud and he doesn't think that the other person can hear him over the crowd or what, but yeah, you hear that a lot with Cena.
And strictly, you can read it clear as day before Seth hit the knee to the face. And by the way, he hit him in the face. It wasn't the nose. He got nowhere near it. Because John Cena said twice, don't touch my nose. Don't touch my nose. So John was definitely being protective, and kudos to Seth, because he did protect John's face that whole match. I'll give him credit for that, and they still made it look good. Seth wearing the white Power Ranger gear, that was pretty cool. Seth Rollins is the new United States champion and heavyweight champion. He gets the win over Cena. They did the ref bump. It was old school. Me and Bart had talked for a while that they don't do the ref bump anymore. We don't get that. Well, we got it tonight, and it added to the night of controversial finishes. Brian, were you okay with this match ending the way it did?
No. I wasn't, but the only silver lining to the whole thing is the fact that John Cena didn't win. And just because I felt like Rollins was the better man, and everybody knows it, and I think John Cena even knows it. I think that the match would have had more of a historical feel, an authentic feel, if it was a clean victory. And I get it, he's a heel, and that's a heel victory, but you could have done it so much better. Like you had mentioned before, it could have been Flair. Would have been perfect. Would have been epic. Would have went down in history as one of the best matches ever. Would have one of the best finishes ever.
When Cena locked in that figure four, I thought it was coming. Like, I was like, oh my God, here comes Flair. Like, there's no way that they're going to do the figure four and it not be Flair. So I'm with you, Brian. That's exactly what I thought they were doing. And, Mark, what were your thoughts on it?
I didn't mind it. Seth took the easy way out, and you're right, we got a ref bump. Finally, WWE put in a ref bump. I kind of understand why they don't give us things so often, and then that way, whenever they actually give it to us, it feels like, wow, yeah, we finally got this, or yay, we finally got that. So, I mean, I understand them only trying to use it in certain situations, but I think that this was a perfect use of a ref bump. I kind of want to touch on something you said during it. Mr. Stewart, if you could please, if you're going to try to fake out the audience, don't do a double fake. Because you faked like you were hitting Cena, or you faked like you were hitting Seth for a long time. Then you faked like you were hitting Cena. Then you went back to like you were going to hit Seth. Don't do that. Sit there and fake like you're going to hit Seth until Cena finally gets up. I don't know if it was a timing issue and you thought Cena was supposed to get up on 15 seconds and he thought he was supposed to get up on 40 seconds, but you'd need to just sit there and be patient.
I'm gonna lean toward the 40 because it took John a hell of a long time to get up. But yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Stewart, buddy, you gave that finish away. I knew right when I saw him slide in, I was like, oh my God, he's gonna hit John Cena. Yeah, like I said, good. And I want to go back and touch on something Brian said real quick about heels and faces. I think WWE has reached a point where we talk about the IWC and sparking crowds. We see it all the time where John Cena is supposed to be the face, Roman Reigns is supposed to be the face, and we boo the crap out of that guy. I think what they do with John Cena and what they don't do with Roman Reigns is that somewhere, once the match starts, and I don't know if you guys noticed this, in this match, they swap roles, like Seth Rollins wrestled as the babyface. He did all the hot blind spots on Cena. He did all the things that made the crowd pop. And Cena did all the things that would make the crowd boo. So the WWE is at a point where their characters don't necessarily have to change. And their match style can be a 180. Brian, do you think I'm kind of accurate on this analysis?
Yeah, I agree with you on that. It's not the character itself anymore or how they act that really makes them the heel. It's more or less a popularity contest at this point. I mean, the crowd's gonna make up their mind whether or not they like somebody or not, and they just don't like John Cena. And that old saying, "You can die a hero or live long enough to become a villain." He's lived long enough to become a villain because he's loved by everybody so much, but there are so many people that are better than him that he just refuses to get out of the way. And that's created this, you know, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. My enemy is John Cena. His enemy is Seth Rollins, therefore I like Seth Rollins.
Yeah, that's definitely what it's become with Cena, but I will also say that that's what I think Roman Reigns needs to take. As we learned from Sheamus tonight, when you're being the heel, you can take that moment from the crowd. Like when they won it, you can take it away from them. Cena does that in his matches. He knows how to take the crowd that doesn't like him and play to them. Roman gets shook by people that don't like him. Like he doesn't know how to handle it. And I think that is what is keeping him from that level. To your point about Cena getting out of the way, me and Bart, we touched on this in the last episode as well. I don't think you can blame Cena for other people not doing what it takes to be the top guy. Like John Cena works 20 hours a day just like Vince McMahon does. He does all the media obligations. He puts in all the gym time. Like nobody puts in the work that John Cena does. So until somebody can match him on every aspect, and I'm not just talking in-ring ability, because even though we will say John Cena is up there on that now, he's the complete package, and I think that there's people getting there. I think once they turn Seth face and he gets that touch with the audience that John has with the core crowd, then he can be that guy. Like there's definitely people that can be there, but being the total package, you only get one of those every so often. I'll even say that in the Attitude Era, we didn't have one because The Rock wasn't there long enough, and Austin was the anti-rebel. Really, the only guy we've had other than a John Cena is Hulk Hogan, and those guys just don't come around every 40 or 50 years. So I don't know. I really don't think we can put it on John Cena. That's my 2 cents. And I'll let you finish up with a retaliant, and I'll go to Mark, and we'll move on.
I mean that's the impression I get from the crowd, that that's their mindset. Um, I don't mind John Cena myself in so much a person or a wrestler. I mean, I think there's better wrestlers than him. Uh, but like you said, with his work ethic and what he actually performs in the ring, and he outshines a lot of people. But I think a lot of times the crowd's just bipolar, and they'll chant for Seth Rollins just based on whoever he's fighting, because he could be facing Brock Lesnar, and they'll cheer for him. So they really don't invest too much into one person. It's just the flavor of the week almost with them.
So I actually think you're actually right on that. Me and Mark noticed that in the Atlanta crowd. It's just become the cool thing to boo Cena. It isn't that we hate him. It's just the fact that we're supposed to boo him. That's what the IWC is supposed to do. Mark, final thoughts on this excellent match and Seth Rollins being the double champ.
I can't wait for Seth's statue. Oh, that's going to be great. And Stephanie and Hunter better go through on their promise and put up that statue at headquarters. And I better get a nice long trip out to headquarters and see it and everything. And it'll be great. And also, more to your point about Roman Reigns needs to pick up on the things that John Cena does. I'm actually going to give Roman a little bit of leeway on this. Roman's a 4-year veteran. John Cena's a 20-something-year veteran. I think Roman will pick it up on it eventually.
Well, wait, 20-year veteran. That's a little stretch. He's not that
long. Since his OVW days, it's getting pretty close to almost 20 years.
No, 15. But yeah.
I mean, that's closer than 10. Whatever.
Touché.
But yeah, I think Roman will pick up on it eventually. But yeah, the John Cena hate, it just comes with the territory nowadays. But it was a great match.
Yeah, and now we go into something I feel like. Okay, Divas Revolution. when you push it, it's big, it's over. I don't know why this follows the heavyweight title match. I feel like they were trying to sandbag these ladies. I don't know if they're just mad because the women are getting so much exposure, because this match already had a bad formula to it. It's the first pinfall loses for your team. They write team bad out early. They get tossed. I think it was Tamina that took the loss there. A useless use of Sasha Banks. No, I'll get into that later. Uh, the Bellas take the loss here. PCB goes over. Mark, why in the? I mean, this is obviously to protect Nikki Bella, right? And if so, we know that. So, what was your thoughts on the match itself?
Man, I was so hoping that this was going to be in a single, like, elimination type match or something like that. Like, once you're pinned, you leave and not your entire team. Because it would have been great to have, like, all of Team Bella still left and Sasha be by herself and, like, maybe two members of PCB be by themselves and then have the new divas all run through the Bellas. That would have been great. But yeah, it was a horrible use of what Sasha Banks can do. But other than that, I think that this storyline in and of itself is just to set up all those divas to get them the notoriety and stuff. Hopefully after this we go to more singles feuds and maybe one lady out of each trio starts a feud with another person from one of the other teams and we get a lot more singles actions, and hopefully that leads to a Nikki Bella title drop. But yeah, I don't necessarily think that this was to protect Nikki's title reign, although I'm sure she wants that 300 mark. I think this was just more to establish all the divas.
She just says she wants 300 all she wants. We all know she wants 296. That's all she cares about. This is all about slapping AJ Lee in the face. They're not fooling me. Secondly, I noticed that Brie Bella was the one that took the loss for the Bellas, so Nikki's gonna hold that over her head. I bet we can get a Nikki and Brie feud at some point. God, we've never seen that before. I will say that Team Bella, their best worker the whole night was, oh, go figure, Alicia Fox. She doesn't get the credit she deserves. She is a heck of a worker for a diva. I wish she gets the spotlight more. Brian, what do you think of this 9-way match here?
Um, I felt like it was completely irrelevant. Although I was making my comments earlier on the thread about the divas. I'm not even going to say that. The women's division headlining WrestleMania one day. Boycotting the word divas. It's useless. Uh, I do feel like that the women's division will main event WrestleMania at some point. Hopefully sooner than later. I feel like it would have been better exposure if it was a singles match. I think it was just completely pointless to have them all in the ring together. But at the same time, I think it's completely pointless to have, 3 women staples right now anyway. So that's really about it. I honestly didn't watch the match.
I get why they put the team together, like Mark said, it's a way for them to break them up into different stories. The problem is I didn't see that happen in this match. Like, I didn't see storyline develop. All I saw was the Bellas try to protect themselves, but they eliminate Team Bad early, and then the Bellas go out. It was the same thing that I've seen on every Raw and SmackDown, pretty much. That's what I got from it. Mark, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think something's going to lead from Brie taking all these losses and whatnot for her team. Although I will say this, Nikki Bella tapped out to Sasha Banks this past week. So, I mean, they haven't completely protected Nikki throughout this, but they have protected her title.
Yep, indeed, indeed. Next is what we all thought was gonna be the match of the night. I'm not gonna say that it under-delivered. I just think that some other matches over-delivered. And I'll be honest, Kevin Owens is my favorite wrestler, but this was not the match of the night. It was good. It was great. The crowd didn't know who to boo, so they didn't boo anyone. Kevin Owens is probably more over in Brooklyn than, God, about as over as Brock Lesnar was in Minnesota. Like, they were pro Owens. But the Cesaro section was huge. Kudos to Kevin Owens for wrestling 20 minutes with Finn Balor last night and doing another 15 with Cesaro the very next night. Anybody who says that man is just fat and out of shape, he might be, but out of shape, and he is not, sir. Unbelievable. He gets the win with the package, or the pop-up powerbomb. Uh, Cesaro got all of his stuff in the swing. Did an awesome, reversal into the, sharpshooter. Great match, and I feel like that I don't think the loss hurt Cesaro. Like, I feel like Owens needed it more than Cesaro. Mark, how do you feel? Or am I right or wrong on this analysis?
Oh yeah, I think that Kevin needed the win, and I honestly don't think that their feud is gonna be over anytime. They'll probably do a triple three matches or whatever, kind of like Owens and Cena did. I think that that's becoming the newer thing, just to get a rubber match and then put over on the last one. But yeah, the crowd definitely did not know who to boo. Which is a kudos to how well these two individuals not only are in the ring, but also their characters, and their Cesaro's actually starting to come out of a shell and be more able to connect with the audience. Cough, cough. Vince McMahon, cough, cough. Um, yeah, so I think that Cesaro will probably take the next one, but I'm expecting them to over deliver and just deliver again on their next match. But this was probably the third best match of the night, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. Cesaro, got the complete package right now. The Cesaro section is filling every single week. He needs a catchphrase, and I know they're so stupid and cliche in WWE, but it works, and he needs one. He needs something that the crowd can do with him. And he had it go with Seth for a couple of weeks with the promos when he said the over and over and over. The crowd was really buying into that, but that only works when you do it with Seth. I think that Mark is kind of on the right track, that they are going to do the rubber match or what have you. But I also feel like that this whole swap and win thing, I don't know how that's really building characters. Like, I don't know how people are getting stronger by swapping wins, and that does seem to kind of be how the WWE formula is going. I do also think that Owens brings out the best in Cesaro's personality. I think they're comfortable with each other because of their history overseas and in Ring of Honor. Like, they're good friends, and they've worked with each other several times. Brian, what was your thoughts on this match tonight?
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed the match, mainly because I was curious to see how Owens was going to fare, seeing the match, last night with him and Balor. So I seen the beating that he took, and those ladders were real ladders; they were not bending. So when he landed on them, he hurt himself. You could tell. So like you said, kudos to him for doing that, because there's not a lot of wrestlers on the roster that would have done that, or at least would have been able to put on a 5-star match like he did tonight. As far as the rubber matches that you were talking about, I honestly see this one as a one and done. I don't see them feuding after this one, simply because, going back to what we were discussing with Ryback and other competitors, I actually see Cesaro and Ryback as a decent feud that would give Cesaro a belt to chase after, and giving Owens an opportunity for a new feud. Because I think that him losing last night to Balor was to put Balor over and to really seal the deal for him being on the main roster. But I feel like he had to win tonight to make himself relevant on the main roster. And I feel that's all this was him making himself relevant on the main roster.
We discussed the fact of Ryback being a possibility for Kevin Owens as far as the next place to go if the Cesaro thing was a one and done. And I think the conclusion we came to is that the problem with that is that Kevin Owens would have to beat Ryback. And I don't think Ryback needs to lose that title just yet. I like your fact of Daniel Bryan. And that would mean Ryback would need to hold it until then. As far as Cesaro, you're in a deal there when you got a babyface and a babyface. And that usually doesn't work. They would have to turn Ryback, and I don't know if it's the time to do that. I think that's kind of the situation they're in, is the mid-carders they have, there aren't any heels. I mean, we talk about this on the show all the time, about lack of heels, but it puts Ryback in a situation where he can only face the Miz and Big Show, and that's what we're getting every week. I mean, there's other things they can do. They can turn Mark Henry, Titus O'Neil. I mean, there's things they can do. They need to do it. Mark, I'll let you go ahead and finish with your final thoughts before we move to the main event.
I wouldn't mind seeing a Kevin Owens Ryback feud, but I just have a feeling that I think Cesaro would insert himself into that. Kind of like, since Owens messed up Cesaro's chance at the US title whenever John Cena had it, I think Cesaro would mess up Kevin Owens' chance to take out Ryback, and that could be a way that they could save Ryback still being face and him still having the title because Cesaro messed Kevin Owens up and whatnot. But I think that's just going to lead right back into another Kevin Owens versus Cesaro match, and Kevin's going to be like, "Well, I'm gonna finally just put you out of your misery, and maybe you'll stay out of my business," type thing.
You know what? I can definitely probably see that happening if that's the route they go. Brian, would you be okay with that scenario?
Yeah, I mean, I could be okay with that. You have to take into consideration that someone else is getting ready to come back as well, who's been feuding with Owens, and it's the very person that got put out by Owens. And Sami Zayn should be coming back soon, hopefully. And I think that would be a hell of a debut for a main roster if Sami Zayn came back and sought vengeance towards Owens.
Eventually, what I'm hoping they do is I'm hoping that they eventually do an ROH feud. Like, they need Daniel Bryan, they need Samoa Joe. Like, anybody that cross paths, they need to have they need to have an ROH style match where it's just, we know what we're doing, you let us put this show down. It would be amazing. And quite frankly, they have about half of the ROH alumni on their roster already. I think they can see them doing it, especially with all the shots that they're taking at Ring of Honor lately. We got into that on the last episode. Ring of Honor was in Brooklyn tonight at one of the minor league baseball fields, but you wouldn't know it unless you followed their internet feed, on Twitter, because that's all you would see them on the night of SummerSlam. That would go to the main event. This is what everybody was here for. The Undertaker and Brock Lesnar. Oh my goodness. I think everybody wanted a finish in this match. Sorry folks, I'm afraid I got some bad news. You're not getting one. I don't know if when we cut on Raw on Monday and that they're gonna have a decisive winner, because it looked like the Undertaker had won, and that Brock had passed out after giving him the finger on PG television, mind you, even though pay-per-view. And then Paul Heyman cuts a promo with his objection like a lawyer would do. And then they hit Brock's music and they roll credits. Now apparently the Undertaker had tapped out while in the Kimura lock, and they have video evidence of that. But the bell rang before that when the Undertaker hitting the low blow before he made Brock pass out. Brian, what the hell happened here, buddy?
I'm not sure, honestly. But looking at it in retrospect, it definitely set Brock up for the low blow for Undertaker to do the heel move and get the victory dirty. I've been seeing rumors already earlier tonight that the reason that they ended the pay-per-view 15 minutes early is because the match ended early. Because Undertaker, when he took the F5 through the announce table, actually hurt himself, which wouldn't surprise me because it happened at WrestleMania. Whether or not that's true, let's say that it was work, that he wasn't really hurt, and that he was behind them ringing the bell, that would distract Brock Lesnar long enough to do the low blow, thus sealing the victory.
We always talk a lot about how if you can't get to the finish, find a way to get there and make it look like it makes sense. If that's the case, I can be okay with it for the simple fact that when he took that F5, I knew he was hurt. He was hurt. He was holding his ribs. When he started going to Suplex City, I made a status earlier in the night on Facebook on my personal page about I hope Undertaker doesn't die. And I said that in sarcasm, but at the same time, I legitimately feared for what would happen when he got dumped on the back of his head with his history of concussions and the fact that he didn't go to Suplex City the first time. So when Brock started doing the succession of suplexes, I immediately started to cringe. And I think the crowd did too. Like, you could feel the air and the breath just go, and Brock immediately, like, they swapped heel and face roles about 4 different times in that match. It isn't like the Austin Britt one, though, where it made sense. It was just kind of like, wow, we're on a loop-de-loop roller coaster ride right now, and I don't know where we're going. Mark, what do you think of this match here?
The match itself was great. It delivered a lot better than their 30 match. And if Taker was injured at that first F5 through the table, bravo to him for working the rest of the entire match and getting all those spots that he did get into through and done with, because I'm fairly certain that most people in their 50s would never have tried to work through an injury during a match. That just shows you the determination and the love for this business that man has. Also, the spot where they both set up at the same time, Brock sitting there laughing at him, that was hilarious when Undertaker started laughing back at him. And then the part where Brock said that he was going to kill him, and slowly, the Undertaker crawled over to him, started pulling himself up a la Shawn Michaels to the Undertaker, and said, well, you're going to have to. You literally get the sense that maybe to end Taker, Brock was really going to have to. Because he, like Anthony said, he did actually go to Suplex City for the most part in the match. Took 3 F5s. They worked a great match. And to point out, just saying, the ref didn't see him tap, so it didn't count. That's like one of those things, like, if you cheat and you don't get caught, you really weren't cheating because they didn't catch you.
This is one of those deals where the referee screwed up the whole match and it was just part of the story, like that's what they're going to wind up saying on Monday. Well, they didn't see Brock's shoulders on the mat, so he was trying to get down there to see that after he messed that up. Creative-wise, I guess kudos for creating a cluster muck that was at least created by you rather than being an accident. But still, I'm just anxious to see where it goes. Only thing I would have done different is with the low blow. Like, if you really, really want to get heat on The Undertaker, why is Kane not coming out to help his brother to avenge himself? Brian?
Honestly, I feel like it would have done him more injustice to have someone help him win, because that was the whole point. He was trying to avenge this himself. And Undertaker's mindset, it was under any circumstances, ends justify the means, but by himself. And it would take away from his victory if he had somebody help him win, because that's the whole point. Undertaker's never beaten Brock Lesnar by himself or cleanly, so
He's still not going to be able to say that, because thanks to whoever this belt champ is, and by the way, WWE, if you don't acknowledge this belt champ on Monday Night Raw, if you don't bring him in the ring and quote unquote suspend him, I'm going to have a big problem with you. You wrote this in the match as a finish. You better connect the frickin' dots on this. Mark, thoughts?
When is the last time you saw Undertaker win in heelish fashion, or a dirty win?
I can't really tell you, actually. It's been a long time.
Kudos for him for wanting to work a dirty finish. That just shows him that he's pulling out all the stops in his last ride. No pun intended.
Well, once we didn't see a last ride tonight, we got to get that move set in there.
Yeah, yes, we did.
Oh, we did. He did do the. He did.
Yes, he did.
Okay. Well,
It was wonderful. That was long overdue.
Yeah, and I actually did like the fact that he walked the ropes into the F5. Like, that took a lot of balls, knowing that you're about to get dumped on your face. If I were him and I cared about my life with Michelle McCool and my family, I wouldn't get in the ring with Brock Lesnar anymore. Like, it's not good for your health. Kudos to you, sir, for being 50 plus years old and doing what I didn't think you could do, standing toe to toe with the beast. And you really did make it look like a believable fight. But please, I don't want to see you hurt, man. Please don't do this anymore. WWE, find somebody else for him to work. Let him work Sting. No more Brock Lesnar. I know that's what they're going to do, though. They're going to do the rubber match. Oh, I'm so worried for Undertaker. Final thoughts for tonight. I'm going to give this show a B minus, but for the simple fact of it's SummerSlam. It's 4 hours. If you're going to do a bunch of controversial finishes, you do this at Payback. You do this at one of the minor shows. You don't do it at one of the shows that some poor soul out there paid $54.99 to watch. And if you are one of those people, what are you doing? Why are you not getting the WWE Network for $9.99? I don't care. You just say the network sucks. Oh, the quality's terrible. You just bought 6 of them. 6 of them. No sense at all. My worst segment, Dolph Ziggler, and that segment was terrible. I don't understand the double count out. And I will say that the Ryback match, they should have put that on the pre-show. They didn't even have a pre-show match, and it should have been a pre-show. And kudos for match of the night going to John Cena, Seth Rollins. Gotta be. Mark, I'll go with you next.
Okay, so I'm giving the grade of the pay-per-view a solid B. Most of the matches delivered as far as in-ring ability, just their endings were kind of off. Worst segment of the night, I'm gonna actually have to go with the Ryback match. Although I do agree that the Rusev Ziggler double count out was Like that was just some awkwardness. Thankfully, in my opinion, the brawl afterwards, and hopefully getting a Summer Rae versus Lana match set up at some point in time, kind of overshadowed the entire match. But best match of the night, I'm actually gonna have to go with Taker Brock, simply for the fact that I finally get to see the Undertaker in a controversial win slash no win, see him win, quote unquote, dirty, and it was a much better match than even their WrestleMania match, in my opinion.
I will agree on that. Definitely. Well, I mean, God, it didn't take much to be better than that WrestleMania match. It was awful. I agree though, for the most part, on all that. Brian, I'll let you agree in the show. Give us your best and worst match of the night and final thoughts before we sign off here.
Before I do the worst and best and my final thoughts, I want to mention something that we haven't even brought up yet, and it's going to be one of my candidates for best match, and that's the Stephen Amell and Stardust.
Oh, we skipped right over the Stardust thing. Holy mackerel. Alright, let's go ahead and jump into that real quick, seeing how we judge that. It was, the reason why we skipped over it was only like 6 minutes long. Armel didn't get his stuff in as far as, getting noticed. They did the whole, you don't know how to wrestle thing in the beginning where Stardust did the intimidation factor. But we end with the red and green arrow, with the red arrow coming off the top rope, and they get the victory. I hope this leads to more in the road. Like, I don't want this to end, but, and apparently it won't, because on Twitter, right after it was over, Barrett tweeted out to Armel that this is not over for the Kings of Darkness. They're gonna be back for more. Brian, you were excited for it. What did you think of the segment in itself?
The segment in itself I thought was great. They had really hyped it up, and some of the past experiences with adding celebrities has not been so great. Um, but I think that a lot of people weren't expecting Stephen Amell to be that talented as far as in the ring. So that was a pleasant surprise for a lot of people. But I've always liked the concept of the hero versus the villain. So my only downfall to the match was the entrance. I feel like they could have really built up the entrance of the Green Arrow and allowed him to come out dressed more like the actual character. But overall, I thought it was actually a really good match.
I'm gonna agree with you on that with the simple fact that Stephen Amell tweeted that he was gonna be wearing all of his Green Arrow stuff. He teased it, and then he came out kind of just into the half year. I wasn't really down with that, and I'll also agree that the whole entire build-up was based off the comic book feel, and I feel like when they ran the pre-match promos and stuff, that they should have done it all in comic book, and they didn't. They kind of abandoned that for the live thing, and that was kind of disappointing to me. Mark, your thoughts on the segment before we go to close the show out?
Yeah, the entrance, they could have, like y'all said, they could have done so much more to make it and feel more like it was actually the Green Arrow. I'm kind of thinking that maybe WWE didn't get the copyright stuff for the exact Green Arrow costume and all of that from the CW. Maybe, I'm not sure exactly what, or maybe they had to go through the comic itself. Not really sure how that all worked out, but yeah, that on their next go around needs to be done better. Stephen Amell actually jumping off the top rope onto the floor. It wasn't even all the way just onto the ring. It was an extra 3 or 4 feet down onto the floor. That was pretty impressive, and he actually sold some. I was like, wow, an actor that knows how to sell that's name's not Dwayne Johnson. Kudos to him for actually going out and wanting to put on a match and not just have one spot in a match like most actors do.
Indeed, indeed. Brian, I'll go ahead and let you wrap up the show with your final thoughts and greetings.
Okay, final thoughts. Worst matches. I'm saying matches because it's a tie between Ziggler and Rusev in the Divas match. The Divas match would have won had it not been for the double countout, which was pointless. And it's almost like Ziggler was almost going to get back in the ring in time, and I almost want to say it looks like he botched it, and the ref had no choice but to ring the bell. And if that's the case, that's really, really disappointing. Best match would be the tag match for me, just because going back to what I said earlier, it's the feel that it gave me. Like that was the first match I really got excited for in the pay-per-view, just because of the way they set it up. And I think that the teams that were in it, minus the Matadores, were really great teams. So that one would be the best match, with obviously Seth and John Cena. Overall, I would give it a B plus.
All right, pretty solid grade. Guess that'll do it for this SummerSlam wrap-up show. Unlike SummerSlam, we don't have a lot of controversy in ours. What we will say is that you can listen to us on Max Sports and Power Station FM. You can also find us on WrestlingGoonsRadio.blogspot.com, where you will find all of our social media links there when you hit subscribe. We will be doing the Raw reaction coming up on Wednesday, and we will be giving you Around the Squared Circle coming up on the weekend. And also, be looking for an NXT Fallout show. We are also going to give you NXT coverage as well. Oh, man, thank you to Phil always for producing the show. And we also want to tell you all to thank you for listening to the Wrestling Goons Radio, the podcast for the IWC, from the IWC. So we will see you.